Update. Am I the a-hole for asking my boyfriend to stop sharing everything with my sister? Original story. Hi, I'm 24 female and have been dating my boyfriend, 26 male, for 5 years now. We grew up together as neighbors and were friends for a couple years before dating. I love him so much, and I want to marry him. His family's great and I adore them all. And it's great with my family too. He also formed a great relationship with my sister, 21 female. But the issue is that I think their bond is too close. My boyfriend and I live together, but he spends a lot of time with her. Albeit I'm sort of busy. I'm currently in grad school for engineering, so I have to go to my classes. My boyfriend works full-time. My sister is currently taking a gap year, but that 1 year has extended from when she was 18. She comes over when I'm in seminars/classes. They have tons of inside jokes and share the same sense of humor and taste in movies. It makes me feel left out. But when I try to include myself, they both stop being so enthusiastic and acting like it's super awkward to have me there. My sister and I were close growing up, but started drifting when I went to uni. When my boyfriend isn't there and I talk to her, she becomes kinda cold and sometimes says rude things. Once she told me to my face that I'm not good enough for him, that he deserves better, which made me cry for a couple days. He also gets her gifts for the most random achievements. Like he got her a present for making it through the week, even though she doesn't do anything as she isn't currently working or trying to pursue a hobby or interest. She's just taking it easy. Her own words. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad my boyfriend and my sister are friends. But my major problem is that my boyfriend tells her everything. Literally everything. He tells her things he doesn't tell me and talks to her about me and our relationship. She knows all our issues and good parts, to a level of detail that I wouldn't even tell my closest friends or parents. She even knows the grades I got in my midterm/finals and what I think about my manager. I work part-time to contribute to our apartment, but I also get paid for my research, which goes towards our needs as well, which I feel is unnecessary for her to know since I didn't tell her myself. I asked him to step back a bit and stop telling her things about me and our relationship, but he was shocked and told me that I'm an a-hole for even requesting it. Now I feel guilty. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole, but I'm 90% certain your sister and boyfriend are hooking up while you're in class. I'm 100% certain. I reserve 10% that they're just having an emotional affair, but sister at the very least would like it to be more. And when it tells you that someone deserves better than their current partner is talking about themselves. Not the a-hole. They're both grossly out of line and are at minimum having an emotional affair. Kick them both to the curb. I don't see how this is salvageable. I wrote way too many lines in my judgment where emotional affair would have cut it. Think you hit the nail on the head. Who is he in a relationship with? You or your sister or both? There are so many red flags here that I would be taking a serious look at your relationship. Keeps OP for money and the sister is a side chick to bang when OP isn't home at this point. The level of we know each other very well is very unsettling, and it sounds like an emotional affair. However, I think there is more to it. OP needs to take a step back and find out. Edit. Thank you all for your responses and advice. You've literally made me reconsider everything that I thought I knew. The consensus is that there is something shady going on with my boyfriend and my sister, which just makes me want to vomit. I'm now reading into every interaction and conversation, and I feel so naive for not noticing the red flags. I'm going to take your guys' suggestions and set up some nanny cams in my apartment. Either way, it'll be good security. If nothing happens, then it'll be reassuring. And if something does happen, well, I'll deal with that after. I'm going to drive to the store right now to pick up the cameras. I'll try to update soon, hopefully with positive news. And now for the update. Hi everyone, I have an update. Unfortunately, it's a bad one. But fortunately, I didn't have to wait very long to get it. So the last update I posted was before I went to go get some nanny cams. I set up the cams at the hidden spots in our bedroom and living room area in our apartment. Today happens to be my birthday. Yay for 25. And Debbie, my close friend 25 female, wanted to take me for a day trip yesterday. My boyfriend agreed and said that we do something the next day, on my birthday. I told him I'd be out from 8 a.m. and I'd be home by 8 or 9 p.m. after Debbie and I finished dinner. Debbie took me out, but she noticed I was feeling a bit off. I was still thinking about the overwhelming number of responses telling me that something shady was going on. So I ended up spilling everything while we were eating lunch. Debbie was outraged on my behalf and agreed that something was off. She asked if I wanted to cut our day short and drop back home to see if anything was happening, and convinced me, saying that it's better to find out today than tomorrow. Yes, I realized we could have just checked the nanny cams, but for some reason we forgot about them in a moment. I'm kind of glad I didn't check, because I would have started ugly crying in public. I'm guessing most of you know what happened, as it's so predictable that I'm kicking myself afterwards for not realizing. We drove back home around 4 p.m. and it caught them literally in the act. Why were they doing it at 4 p.m.? I don't even know. We just kind of stood there with my arms folded, and I hope with a badass resting bee face on, although maybe it was more a trying not to cry face. My boyfriend gave me a whole "it was an accident" spiel. I just ignored him and started packing my things. Thank God our lease was up for renewal within the month. He begged me and eventually yelled at me for packing up. The funny thing is, I bought most of the furniture and supplies. So me, being slightly petty, packed as much as I could. Debbie helped me and we loaded everything up in her car. We left some stuff that couldn't fit, but I'll go back for that later. The whole time, my sister was sitting stoically wrapped in a robe in my couch. My poor couch. We went back to Debbie's house and I had a breakdown. Debbie, the angel that she is, provided me with ice cream and fuzzy blankets. My boyfriend spammed me with calls and texts, ranging from "I'm sorry," "please forgive me," "I love you." It was only one time. to "this wasn't my fault. You should have been home more." Predictable. We decided to check the recordings, and lo and behold, it was definitely not just once. I'm really sad that the sister who used to bake cupcakes and do karaoke with me could betray me this badly. My boyfriend, well, he was my first, and in hindsight, he didn't really contribute much anyways. I spent yesterday kind of rotating through being devastated, angry, and self-righteous, but today Debbie pampered me all day, so it wasn't so bad. Thanks for everyone's support, and I hope that everyone has a good day. So after I wrote this all up and sent it to the mods, I went back to enjoying the rest of my birthday, and Debbie kept me distracted. I left my second laptop. It's an old, slow laptop, and when I upgraded, I still kept it at my apartment. Turns out I had my email and stuff still signed in, and my now ex-boyfriend messed with it, and I lost access to my emails and the original throwaway Reddit account. But I did send what I had written to myself beforehand, so that's why I can update here. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see this, but I hope you can. Edit. Also, I forgot to add, but I wrote up the actual update portion 2 days ago. Lol, it's not my birthday anymore, but yeah, hopefully that puts into context. Currently, I've been staying with my friend, and I've blocked both my ex-boyfriend and my ex-sister. To be honest, it's a huge weight off my back, and I know this won't affect me forever. I'm so sorry, Opie, but I'm so glad you found out before something serious such as marriage or children. Your sister and ex are a-holes that deserve each other. I hope you tell your family as well. I can't believe how awful they are. I wish you success and happiness. Also, happy birthday. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I know this wasn't the outcome you hoped for, but your life is much better off without either one. What your sister did was lower than low. I don't see how anyone can look at their sibling's significant other and see a potential intimate partner. So sorry to hear this. At least you know now. If I were you, I would never forgive my ex-sister or ex-boyfriend, or ever talk to either of them again. They don't deserve to be in your life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for denying my brother a share in our childhood home? When I was 18 and my brother was 22, we found out our mom had an affair in the early years of my parents' marriage. My dad was clueless about this too. She ended up leaving our dad and revealed he wasn't our bio father. Her affair partner was, and DNA confirmed this was true. Our dad was there for us, and for a few months things seemed like they would stay relatively normal. But then my brother decided it felt bad for the guy who didn't know we existed and wanted a relationship. He started treating our dad as a bank instead of a dad. Dad paid for him to meet our bio father, and then my brother acted like he was supposed to pay for other stuff for them. My dad said no. He said he didn't want to pay for anything for that man. My brother told him it wasn't for bio dad. It was for him, that he is his son, and as a father, he should put his hurt aside for him. When the bio dad was made homeless, my brother expected my dad to pay for him to rent a place. My dad said no, and that was the start of an estrangement that lasted until my dad died a couple of years ago. The estrangement continued for so long because at age 26, my brother had our bio father adopt him again because he felt bad. He tried to pressure me to do the same, but I didn't meet the dude. My brother wanted me to, but as I told him, it held no interest to me. The man died 7 years ago, and he was broken up about it, especially because I showed no grief at all and told him it didn't upset me at all. It was after our dad died that my brother really started to feel guilt. Dad kept our childhood home and he left it all to me. Our brother used to love that house, as it was where he went through a lot as a kid, and he asked if I would split that in half with him and let him buy it one day. I said no, that I wanted to live there, and after everything he didn't deserve to just inherit his half like he did treat our dad like crap. He told me I was an A for punishing him so much, that he has suffered enough because of it, and he has to live with the consequences. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. He is absolutely right. He has to live with the consequences of his actions, and this is one of them. Guilt is not a consequence, it is a decision. It never means you should be absolved of all the real-life consequences. Top commenter is right. This is absolutely what he should have to deal with. Well, if it isn't the consequences of their own actions. It's cool that he likes the inanimate object your dad built up. Shame that he was such a horrible person to the guy who literally raised you two. Your brother sounds like a manipulative a-hole. That's how he was those years after finding out. He would manipulate and try to use guilt to get what he wanted. To the point it pushed too far and our dad decided he was done. My brother really disappointed me. Info. Is he written into the will to inherit half, or is he just demanding it? He used to be. I think Dad changed his will after my brother chose to be adopted by bio father. If the house is solely yours, he's got no say or right to demand anything. There's no sentimental value here for him. As always, from what you said, it's just another monetary value. And I think your dad was beyond nice to him to put up with this nonsense when you were younger. Just make sure the will is ironclad so he can't contest it. There is sentimental value for him. The house used to mean more to him than me. Maybe it still does to a point. But my dad made sure it was mine, and mine alone. And he can't even contest a legal kid because he was adopted by the bio. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving after I found out my brother wasn't home? I'm 25 female, finished my master's degree this past spring, and decided to move back to my hometown to be closer to my parents and brother. My parents are separated, and my brother Alex, 14, usually lives with my mom during the school year. I wanted to be there for his first day of high school. So I got up early, went to McDonald's to get us some breakfast, and went to my mom's house. My mom's husband answered the door and let me in. I asked my mom where Alex was, and she said he was at Dad's house. I asked why, and she told me he was staying with Dad until he could behave better with his siblings. He has 3 step-brothers around his age. I said my usual greetings and goodbyes and made my way to leave. My mom's husband asked why I was leaving, and I told him I was going to see Alex. He looked upset, but said goodbyes anyways. I spent the rest of the morning with Alex and my dad and then drove him to school. My mom texted me calling me an A because I showed up with McDonald's in a house full of my step-siblings. I don't know them nor consider them family. I don't offer them any or wish them well on their first day. She said what I did was rude because her husband's kids saw me with food and thought it was there for them. She asked me to come back around the time they get home and to take them out so they didn't feel left out. I asked if Alex would be there, and she said no. So I told her I'd be happy to take Alex out with the kids if Alex wanted to go out with them. He of course said no. And now she's accusing me of trying to break up her family. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I'm not asking if I'm the a-hole for not accepting these kids. Preaching your miracle step family stories to me isn't really going to change that for me. I'm asking if I'm an a-hole in this exact instance, for leaving after I realized he wasn't there. Nothing more. Not the a-hole. You got the McDonald's specifically for your brother on his first day of school. If you showed up with a birthday present, would she expect you to give that to the step-siblings instead of him too? She's being unreasonable. Sounds like there may be a reason why Alex doesn't behave better with his siblings. I have a feeling Mom is putting the step-kids ahead of her own son. Not the a-hole. You're 11 years older than your step-siblings. The family relationship between you will be limited just in that nature because you're all in different life spaces. Your mom's Brady Bunch vision is unrealistic, and her accusations that you're trying to break up her family are off base. And if you're feeling spicy, point out that she is doing her part to break up the family by shipping her son off to live with his dad when things got rough, instead of working on it at home. Dad would do absolutely nothing to help things and would likely pour gasoline on a fire. But hey, sometimes I like to stir up trouble. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for choosing to spend my day with my brother instead of my dad after he tried to bring Step along? My dad got married last year, and for a while, his wife's kids been living here too. I, 16 male, hate it, to be honest, because there is no privacy as we have to share everything, even my room, to our other two sons, Bryce 15 and Ellen 9. And everything is family time. If we're going to get ice cream or see a movie or go to the park, it has to be everyone or no one goes. Like, yeah, I guess I'm used to only doing stuff with my dad and my older brother 24, so maybe that's why it's hard. But still, we don't spend any time together at all. For birthdays, it was always a thing where my dad takes each of us out to do something special, then something later as a family together. Even when my brother was living here with us, he only spent equal time, but now every time with him got to be shared by everyone else. My birthday was on last Friday. We were supposed to go kayaking, but the thing is, Bryce's birthday is same day as mine. So my dad tells me he's coming too so we could celebrate both our birthdays. But I didn't want that. I told my dad would never get a second to do something that only me and him. Yeah, he got other kids now, so it's not going to be the same time we spend together. But we spend no time at all anymore. And I asked him for once if this can be me and him. He told me he's sorry we don't hang out anymore, and that he knows all the time is going to them. But it's Bryce's birthday too, and he wants to come. It got me mad after telling him how I've been feeling he still didn't want to make this only for me and him. So I told him I don't feel like going anymore. My dad told me to come with us, but I didn't want to. When they left, my brother came to pick me up after I told him what happened. He took me to eat and we went to the movies, which was fun. Now my dad thinks I'm the a-hole for choosing to go with my brother instead, when it would have been nice if I was with him and Bryce. Also, that I owe Bryce an apology for skipping out and going with my actual brother instead. I don't know. He seemed like really hurt because he wanted us to do this together, and he won't talk to me right now. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your dad is doing a bad job of blending the families. You made a reasonable request and he wouldn't listen. It's good that you have your brother to help you out. The good news is you only have 2 more years of dealing with your dad's house. Dad, all you're doing is pushing me to decide because your new kid's feelings are more important. I'm sure the new stepmom takes her kids out alone. Why can't his dad do the same thing? Not stay home. I doubt that message would get through to dear old dad. He would probably respond with, "What are you talking about? You're the one choosing not to come." Or some BS crappy parents say to make themselves seem like the good guys. Not stay home. Your dad really should work harder to understand where you are coming from. If he had just split the day, spent some alone time with you, and then asked you to do a family activity, there wouldn't have been a problem. He needs to own up to his unwillingness to meet you where you are at is causing this. Not stay home. I get that your dad is trying to blend the families and all, but he shouldn't neglect his kids' needs. He didn't choose your stepmom and her kids. Your dad did. On another note, your older brother sounds like an awesome guy for taking you out to celebrate. Hang in there. He just knows it's been hard with my mom sick, so he'd do a lot more to be there. I'm so sorry about your mom, and that just makes your dad favoring your step-siblings even more. You deserve some extra care and attention with all of the changes and stress in your life. You're not an a-hole at all. We're hopeful she's gonna get better, and then maybe I can go back to her when it's safe.
Update. I, female 25, went no contact with my family, male 54, female 50, and male 20, when I was 18. Now they are reaching out. What should I do? Original post. For whatever reason, my parents didn't want me. Once they had my brother, who we'll call Adam, I was pretty much ignored. They didn't abuse me, but I was pretty neglected. Everything was about Adam. How smart he was, how athletic he was, how he was just the best thing since sliced bread. Then there's me, a pretty average kid who got decent grades, didn't play sports, wasn't super popular, and liked to read books. I can't tell you how many times I heard, "Why can't you be more like Adam?" What made me cut off my family was when they didn't attend my high school graduation. Adam had gotten hurt that morning, A sprained ankle, I was eventually told, and our parents rushed him to the ER because he swore up and down he broke his leg. I only got one text from my mom telling me they would make it up to me with dinner at some family restaurant I mildly enjoyed. I was done after that. I had been used to being neglected or forgotten, but I thought they would at least attend my graduation. I moved out that summer to go live with my cousin in Arizona. Then I blocked my parents and brother, and they haven't been in my life since. My family did try to get into contact with me after I left, but it was mostly just to tell me I was a bad daughter, overly sensitive, and didn't care about Adam. Years later, I still don't have any contact with them. I'm now married to my husband John, male 26, who loves me and treats me like I matter. We also have a daughter who's now 2, that I love more than the world itself. I have a close-knit group of friends and a job that makes decent money and that I enjoy. I'm not saying my life is perfect or a dream or anything, but it's definitely leagues better than my childhood. Which brings me to last week, when my cousin called to tell me they had a message from my parents and my brother. This isn't anything new, but the message itself was. Instead of the usual blame game, my cousin told me that they wanted to apologize for everything. With Father's Day coming up, they were hoping I could come down to visit with my family and we could have a discussion. I know most people would scream, "Don't, it's a trap. They want something from you." But I'm not so sure. For one thing, none of them have ever reached out to apologize for anything. But I still have connections to my extended family, so I have info about my parents and Adam from them. None of them are sick or dying and need an organ. They're not in debt or need help with finances. My parents aren't hoping to retire and want to be supported. Adam doesn't need help with student loans, scholarship kid, so it could be genuine. But at the same time, I don't know if I care enough to have a discussion. My life has been great without them, so why do I need them now? I wanted them as a kid, but not anymore. However, John says this could be a genuine olive branch since they never apologize. He might be right. Even if I don't agree to have contact, I might finally get some closure or at least some answers as to why they didn't want me or why Adam was so much better than me. Should I hear them out or just tell my cousin to tell them to go step on Legos? I'll take any advice at this point. Now for the top advice before reading the update. From someone who is also no contact with immediate family members, I suggest you weigh the cost-benefit. What will it cost you, emotionally, financially, physically? And is it worth the risk? Walk through possible outcomes, best case and worst case scenarios. For me, if they wanted to apologize and talk, I wouldn't be willing to take the time and money to fly to them and do it on their terms. They could have sent a letter, right? The answer is yes. Due to the gaslighting and psychological manipulation my family has put me through, I'd want it all in writing. I'd hear them out, but would want to see it before I even gave it a chance. They don't actually have my address, so they couldn't send a letter directly to me. But they could send it to my cousin, and she could always give it to me. That is something I think you need to determine for yourself. But since you're asking for opinions, my advice is, ask them to apologize in writing before you ever agree to a discussion. If they're sincere, they will respect boundaries. If you need resources, I'd look up AUDHD former teacher on TikTok and Instagram. She has a ton of videos about going no contact with her abusive parents and the tactics they use, and often links other no contact adults. You may be able to relate. There are plenty of others, but I happen to follow her, so she gets my recommendation. I hadn't considered the writing. I'm so used to my parents wanting to talk everything out that I didn't think to just ask for written evidence. A paper trail of sort of what they've done would be nice, if only for myself. I would not contact them. I highly doubt they are remorseful. It's likely that they want something. You have your family now, husband and child. Why allow your parents to say anything? If they did want something, I feel like my cousin would have told me or warned me that something was going on with them. Yet there aren't any signs that they need anything, other than have a discussion with me apparently. They want access to your daughter. I would be cautious. I thought of that too. But my husband said that if they just wanted access to our daughter, they would have tried to reach when she was born. Unless my brother is suddenly sterile, it's not like they won't get more grandkids. Now for the update. Hey guys, a lot of you gave solid advice on my first post, and I really appreciate it. I did ask my friends for their own advice too, but they had more of a bust their kneecaps school of thought. Funny, but not so helpful at the time. Anyway, even though a lot of you warned me, I was just too curious not to talk to my family. Still, I told my cousin to let them know I was not meeting them for Father's Day. I had always intended to reject the idea. I wanted to celebrate John and my father-in-law for being awesome, and that I wanted to do a Zoom meeting instead. I was expecting them to pitch a fit, but they agreed. Yesterday, we met on Zoom. I made sure to have the meeting at my cousin's house because my house is my space, and I don't like intruders, whether in person or virtual. John was hiding in the room out of sight, and my daughter was with my cousin's partner. Long story short, my mother is a revolving door, and both my parents are idiots. To make it a longer story, my mother had an affair with my Uncle Rick, male 60, my dad's older brother, and got caught after she found out she was pregnant. My dad forgave her and agreed to raise me as his, as long as they never did a paternity test. Apparently, it was easier for him to act as my father if he didn't have confirmation that I was his brother's child. Spoiler alert, I am not Rick's kid. Unfortunately for me, I have always been my dad's biological daughter. Rick apparently can't have kids, and my dad only found out on Mother's Day when Rick's wife made a joke about it. So my parents resented me all this time because they were convinced I was Rick's child, despite never having proof. It didn't help that I was just so mediocre compared to Adam, like how Rick is compared to my dad. What I mean by that is, my dad has a fancy desk job with a titled position, and Rick is just your average truck driver. So clearly that must have meant I couldn't be my father's child? They begged for forgiveness. My mom tried to blame my dad for not taking the test. My dad tried to blame my mom for being a truck stop for Rick. But they both wanted me to forgive them because they were sick with regret over how they treated me due to a misunderstanding. They swore up and down that, even if they weren't always there for me, that they still loved me, were still my parents, and that we could be a real family now that the misunderstanding was finally cleared up. Even Adam was pushing hard for it. People asked about our relationship in my last post, but there's not really much to say. He was like a roommate. I was never bullied by him, and he didn't really interact with me, though he definitely reveled in our parents' favoritism. Still, they were all very sorry, but I had to understand why my parents acted the way they did. Now everyone wants to make it up to me and be part of my life again, and be the best grandparents and uncle they can be to my daughter. I obviously told them no. Anyone with eyes could see they just wanted forgiveness to make themselves feel better. I told them that my life was better without them, and that I didn't need them anymore. They got mad at that and called me heartless, cruel, and a bad daughter for being so unforgiving and for not being more understanding toward them, because it was just a mistake, that I had a crappy childhood and had to play second fiddle to Adam. I just told them to forget I existed and ended the call. Then I burst into tears, and my husband had to comfort me. Their insults didn't hurt me, even after all this time of no contact. I'm used to that. But all that time spent feeling like crap and suicidal, and wondering what I did to deserve my mistreatment was just a waste. All because my parents were massive douche canoes with chicken nuggets for brains. I'm glad I didn't waste money to go see them. I'm also glad I heard them out for my own closure. They're trying to aggressively reach out and contact me, even getting other relatives to do so. I've already got a bunch of emails and texts this morning, ranging from please to just hear them out, to insults about being cruel and heartless. I've been ignoring them because I've washed my hands of my family and will continue to remain no contact. So yeah, thank you for all your advice. It meant a lot. The audacity of basically saying, "You were so mediocre." Clearly there was no way we'd ever think you were biologically dads. So really, it's your fault for having been so mid. You owe them forgiveness and understanding because you sucked too much to be treated well by your parents? You know what? At least you got an answer. It's a moronic answer, but it's an answer. Now you know that your family remains crap. Good for them. They have each other. Stay on course. You've clearly nothing to gain from mending fences, except being called too average to be some fancy successful a-hole's kid lol. So dad forgives the cheating wife and the backstabbing brother, but somehow can't even pretend to like an innocent child that knew nothing about their affair? Get out of here with that. Right, his options were 1, leave because of the affair, or 2, stay and be a decent father. There is no 3, treat a child like garbage. That's not a valid option, and he can buzz all the way off. They keep talking about their mistake. F that. The mistake was not knowing she was her father's daughter, but treating her like crap and neglecting her for 25 years? That was a conscious choice. I'm flabbergasted at her parents' stupidity. The revelation changes nothing. If OP really had been an affair baby, that would not have been her fault. Learning that she is not an affair baby just means that they went from a situation where she did nothing to deserve mistreatment to a situation where she did nothing to deserve mistreatment. The mistake changed nothing. The revelation makes it worse. They neglected her out of malice. Last story. My 41 male wife, 43 female, openly has a least favorite child. Can't deal with her. We've been married for around 13 years and have 3 daughters, ages 11, 8, and 6. Our oldest is 11 and has a mild form of autism, what used to be called Asperger's. She's a very easygoing kid. She does what she's asked, when she's asked, rarely asks for anything, and is content in her own bubble. She's introverted and has the most in common with her mom. She's homeschooled like her mom was, and really thrives in that setup. Our youngest, who is 6, has high-needs autism. She attends year-round special education and is an elopement risk. It's a full-time stress and struggle, but she's also a sweet and affectionate child. Our middle daughter, age 8, is something else entirely. She's neurotypical and by her own request goes to public school. I don't know where she gets it from, but she turns everything into a negotiation and will argue to no end. She constantly wants something bought for her, done for her, or to be taken somewhere. If you tell her she can pick one thing at the store, she'll pick 3 and try to make you feel guilty for saying no. She's extremely extroverted, always with friends or at someone's house in the neighborhood. Anytime she has her iPad, she'll FaceTime her best friend from school and could stay on the call for hours if we let her. My wife tried to homeschool her too, but the constant arguing and negotiating made it impossible. She begged to go to public school, just finished her first year, and absolutely loved it. She also enjoys pushing her older sister's buttons and getting a reaction. The interesting part is that, when she's at school or with friends' parents, she gets glowing reports, no issues, no complaints. And when I'm parenting solo while my wife is away, things tend to go more smoothly. I'm more direct. I don't negotiate, and I don't offer second chances. It's not about being harsh, but if you give her an inch, she'll take a mile. When both of us are home, the dynamic shifts. My wife often gets drawn into long verbal battles with her, takes the disobedience personally, and eventually calls me in once it's already escalated. By then, our daughter is past the point of reasoning. No consequence or logical redirection seems to work. It could start with something as small as time to brush your teeth and spiral into a full meltdown because she decides she wants a snack instead. Even after I've diffused the situation and moved on, my wife sometimes brings it back up minutes later with a comment like, "I can't believe you." It feels like she's trying to win the argument after the fact. When our middle daughter went camping with her best friend for the 4th of July, my wife came through the door afterward and yelled, "Middle is gone." She frequently makes indirect comments implying that our middle daughter is difficult or always causing problems. I can't help but feel like that kind of labeling only makes things worse. When I offer gentle suggestions, my wife often shuts them down. She'll say things like, "You don't know what she does to me," or "She behaves better for you because you're not with her as much." Has anyone else dealt with a dynamic like this between a parent and child or between co-parents and found any strategies that helped reset the relationship? Now for the top advice. So, as autism is hereditary, which parent is autistic? That'd be me. Never really realized it until my oldest was diagnosed. I'll start by saying you sound like a great dad. Given the fact that your two other daughters have additional needs and get lots of one-on-one time with mom through homeschooling, is it possible this is attention-seeking behavior? How much one-on-one time does middle get with mom and dad? It sounds like you're thinking about this already, but I'd be curious to know how your wife would answer. Yes, children can be difficult, but they can also sense when they are not liked by their caretakers, and it creates a lot of anxiety and confusion for them, especially when you're talking about the same-sex parent. All of that to say, your wife needs an outlet that is not you or your children to manage her anger, or she will alienate your middle child further. Maybe it's therapy, maybe it's a parent support group, etc. But yeah, based on what you've said, your wife needs to change the way she talks to and about your middle daughter. Thank you. I really appreciate your thoughtful reply. It can be tough to make our middle daughter happy, even when we try to do special things just for her. For example, I recently took her to her favorite hobby shop to buy Pokemon cards. We agreed on a budget, but once we got there, she pushed hard for more. When I stuck to the plan, it turned into a meltdown at the register with tears and promises to pay me back or do chores. Another time, I took her to a local gym event to run around and play for a couple hours. On the way home, she asked for a milkshake at 10 p.m., and when I said no, she came home visibly upset. Instead of being content with a fun night and the time together, she focused on what she didn't get. If we go to the zoo and pass the gift shop, it's the same pattern. She wants too much, gets upset, and the moment sours. My wife has said things like, "You're ruining the day for everyone," which I get, but it's also not the kind of message an 8-year-old knows how to process. A-hole for wanting to uninvite my sister-in-law from my wedding because she keeps undermining my wedding planning? Original post. My fiancé Nate is 27 male, and I, 26 female, have been together for almost 3 years. He proposed to me about 6 months ago, and shortly after, we found out I was pregnant. We are planning to have our wedding in the spring of next year. Nate has a twin sister, 27 female, who we'll call Kayla. Nate and I announced our engagement and my pregnancy at the same time. We made a cute little Facebook post with a couple of engagement pics and an ultrasound photo that said something along the lines of, "The Smith family is going to have 2 new additions." Kayla commented almost immediately that we would have to wait until next year to actually get married because she looks best in fall colors and, as my maid of honor, should get a say in choosing bridesmaids' dresses. I literally stared at my phone screen wondering if I read something wrong. I showed the comment to Nate and asked him why she thought she would be my maid of honor. He had no clue. So I texted her, and this is how that exchange went. Me: "Hey Kayla, I see you saw our announcement on Facebook. Thank you for being ready to step up for me, but we haven't started working out wedding logistics yet. And I haven't picked my bridesmaids, much less my maid of honor. Once we have more details of the wedding worked out, we'll let you know." Kayla: "Well, you don't have to choose a maid of honor anymore. I'm your maid of honor." Me: "I don't understand. I never asked you to be." Kayla: "You don't have to ask. That's what makes me such a good sister." Me: "I'm sorry, you are not my maid of honor." Kayla: "We'll see about that." I showed these messages to Nate, who said he would deal with it. I have no idea what the extent of their conversation was, but Kayla never brought up being my maid of honor again. She just reared her ugly attitude in different ways. As of now, Nate and I have booked the venues, caterer, the florals, decorations, and the DJ already. A couple of months ago, I invited mine and Nate's mothers, along with my sister Sam, who I asked to be my maid of honor, to do some dress shopping. Kayla found out from her mom and invited herself to tag along. We started by looking for a dress for Sam. I wanted my bridesmaids in a pretty pastel yellow, but Sam's is going to be more golden. Kayla would not shut up about how yellow is such an ugly color, and that I should go with pink or blue instead. She even grabbed a bunch of pink and blue dresses to try on herself. I tried my best to ignore her while her mother entertained her bizarre ideas. Sam and my mother were making constant comments about how it's my wedding, and if Kayla isn't going to be helpful, she should just leave. Unfortunately, she didn't, and I am too nice to kick her out in front of my mother-in-law, who I already have a strained relationship with. Our mothers were able to shop for their dresses with little interference from Kayla, but as soon as I started trying things on, she had all sorts of things to say. She told me that certain styles wouldn't look good once I had a baby bod, and even told me I should consider not wearing white, since I'm obviously not a virgin. I told her she wasn't a virgin when she got married either, yet she still wore an adorable white sundress to the courthouse. She grumbled about how that wasn't the same, but I was already halfway back to the changing room. I still don't know what happened while I was in there, but when I came out, Kayla and mother-in-law were gone, and Sam had a smug smile on her face. I never discussed any details of the wedding with Kayla if I could help it, but I've heard Nate sharing some of our plans with her. He told her we were planning on a buffet-style meal because we have a lot of dietary restrictions in our families, and that was the cheapest way to accommodate everybody, literally like a few $1,000 difference. She told him he deserved someone who wouldn't go cheap on his wedding, even though the buffet was his idea. He told her about our venue choices. He picked the reception venue, I picked the ceremony venue, which is the same place my parents got married. My father passed away, and since he cannot walk me down the aisle, I always wanted to get married in the same place he married my mom, to sort of feel like he was there with us. She told Nate that my venue choice was tacky and that people would make fun of us. When he mentioned he wanted a DJ, she made a comment about how she knew I wasn't classy enough to want a live band. Each and every time she would make comments like this, Nate would tell her that they were his ideas, but wouldn't call her out for how she spoke about me, which I do feel a little hurt by. I've expressed this to him and he told me that he would try to do better about calling her out, but that she's just always been this way. I told him that's no excuse for her to be disrespectful and stick her nose into business that doesn't concern her. He hesitantly agreed. On Friday, I got an email from the venue for our ceremony, confirming our cancellation and asking if we needed to reschedule. Shortly after that, I got a voicemail from our caterer explaining that my new wedding planner had just called, but the line had dropped, and they were wondering if I could pass along her phone number so they could finish going over changes to the menu. I immediately emailed the venue back, saying that no, we are not canceling or rescheduling. Please keep our original date on the books. I called the caterer, who explained that a woman had called and said she was my new wedding planner. She had said that I wanted to make some changes to the contract, namely, switching from a buffet style to plated meals. I told him that this was not the case. I do not have a wedding planner and please do not make any changes unless contacted by me or Nate directly with the contact information we have on file. The caterer suggested putting a password on file as well. He said he wouldn't make any changes unless the person requesting them knew the password. I called both venues and all of our other vendors to put in place the same types of precautions. They all gave their sympathies for me having to deal with this. When Nate got home from work, I confronted him about it. I told him someone tried to cancel my venue and change our catering. I told him the only person it could be is Kayla. He tried to deny it and say that she wouldn't do it, but I reminded him of how she's undermined and insulted me during every step of this engagement. I told him I wanted her uninvited. I will not give someone who has already done so much to make this wedding stressful the opportunity to do something like show up in white. He fought me on this, but I basically told him that I felt disrespected by him over how he is allowing Kayla to treat me. I'm his partner and the mother of his child. My feelings and comfort should be more important to him than his sister's childish antics. We met with her for lunch earlier today, and once we got dessert, he asked her if she was trying to make changes to our wedding plans. She said, and I quote, "Well, yeah, it's the maid of honor's job to make sure the bride is making the right decisions." Before Nate could even say anything, I told her she is not my maid of honor, and even if she was, that would not give her the authority to undermine our decisions and make changes to the wedding plans and budget behind our backs. She said she didn't see what the big deal was, since her grandmother had offered us a pretty large chunk of change as a present to help pay for the wedding. I told her again, the wedding budget is none of her business. She tried to argue, but I just cut her off. I told her that her behavior regarding our wedding thus far has been nothing but disrespectful and insulting. I told her trying to cancel my venue had crossed the line and she was no longer invited to the wedding. She seemed absolutely shocked by this. She looked at Nate, waiting for him to defend her. And then he did. He looked at me and said, "Why don't we give her one more chance?" I asked if he was kidding. He said no, that Kayla was only doing what she thought was best for us, and now that we've told her that it wasn't okay, we should give her a chance to correct her behavior. I didn't even respond. I just got up and left. I went and got in my car and drove home, thinking to myself, if he wanted to side with his sister, then he could rely on her to get home. I ignored him trying to get a hold of me. Once at home, I packed a small bag and left for Sam's house. I told her everything, and she told me I could stay as long as I needed to. But now she's at work for the night, and that's where I am now, trying to process what just happened, trying to figure out when I became second place in Nate's life, trying to figure out if there's any way to fix what he just broke in me. He keeps switching between asking where I am, telling me he didn't think this was that big of a deal, and apologizing and asking me to come home and talk. I don't feel ready to talk to him just yet. I'm still too upset, and I feel like I'll do or say something I will regret, like call off the wedding altogether. I just told all my vendors that we aren't canceling the wedding, but right now I kind of want to. I don't know if it's my hormones making me feel crazy or if I'm valid in how hurt I'm feeling. I just don't know what to do or what to think. So, am I the a-hole for not wanting to give her a second chance? Or is my fiancé right that she deserves a chance to prove herself before she's uninvited from the wedding altogether? Now for the top comments before reading the update. You are in the right, and I think a wedding cancellation, or at least delay, is in order until he can show you come before his sister. His sister tried to change the venue that was meaningful for you because it was a reminder of your father. To cancel that over anything else is not just over the line, but cruel. You gave him many chances to get her in line. He failed. One thing I would recommend if you do go forward with him is that, when meeting with her, let him take the lead, even if you don't agree with what he is saying. It will be the biggest indicator of his mindset and ensures that she doesn't or can't blame you for boundaries he is placing. Thank you. He keeps saying I just don't know her well enough to know that all her comments and jokes are harmless. But this one wasn't just a comment. She actually tried to cancel my venue. I honestly couldn't care less about the catering. That one was just weird. But my venue was special. It was too far. Cancel the wedding and let Nate go back to Alabama. Heh, this comment made me cackle. Thank you for the laugh. Now for the update. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who read my original post and offered their judgments and advice. Writing this out really helped me process what I was feeling, and hearing that I wasn't overreacting or just being hormonal from people who are removed from the situation was very comforting. I read every single comment, and there is no way to express how much all the kind words meant to me. There were lots and lots of comments asking for an update, but I wanted to wait until after I had talked to Nate. So I spent last night at Sam's house and mostly ignored Nate's texts and calls. Kayla texted me once, also telling me not to let my hormones make me irrational. I just blocked her, but someone advised me to unblock her and just silence her notifications. So if she escalates, I could maybe use it in court for my custody case. I did unblock her earlier today, and I'm glad I did, but we'll get there. I replied to Nate at one point last night, telling him that I was safe and at Sam's house and that I would be home tomorrow, today, after work to talk about everything. I expressed again that I was feeling really hurt about not being heard or backed up by him, and that I needed time to decide what I wanted to do. He asked what I meant by that, if I meant canceling the wedding altogether. I told him that is exactly what I was considering. His reply, "Don't let your hormones make you do something irrational. We'll talk tomorrow." Anyone else want to take a guess as to where he got that line? That just about made my decision for me. I didn't reply, not even when he texted me, "Good night, I love you." Instead, before I went to bed for the night, I sent him a link to my post and told him to read through it before we talk. Someone said he probably sent it to Kayla too. If she did read it, she hasn't commented, and if she texted me about it, it was while I had her blocked. This morning I called in to work and had breakfast with Sam. She gave me the number of a family lawyer that her friend used for his custody case. I spoke to the assistant, explained my situation, and luckily, she had a slot open after lunch for an initial consult. So I took a shower and basically just kept reading through the comments on my post until it was time to talk to her. I told the lawyer exactly why I am leaving Nate and how I am terrified of how his sister would influence him with our baby. I don't trust him not to be influenced by Kayla or to have our baby's best interests in mind, so I want to fight for sole custody and supervised visitation. I told her if possible, I want to include something that restricts Kayla from having any contact with my child. I am already mentally preparing to have to fight Nate in court because I know he will not agree to any of this. My lawyer told me that while my concerns are valid, it may be difficult to convince a judge to put a contact restriction in the custody order based on family drama alone. She advised me to document everything Kayla has done and anything moving forward so we can present it to the judge if and when we end up in court. She gave me a list of things to think about, like if I want Nate to get any custody at all or just visitation, how I want to handle things like medical care or education for my child, and whether I want to put communication restrictions in place, like only talking over text. Lots of things I never would have thought of, and never thought I would have to think of. We were supposed to do all of this together. She told me to take a few days to gather my thoughts and decide on what I want. I scheduled an in-person meeting for this Friday to go over everything. Hopefully, I will have my mind straight by then, but if anyone has any advice on what to put in these custody papers, I'm all ears. After the phone call with my lawyer, I checked some more comments and then took a much-needed nap. When I woke up, I had a text from Nate asking what time I would be off work so he could have dinner ready for me when I got home. I told him I would be there around 5, but if Kayla is there, I will be turning around and leaving without a word. I then asked him if he read the post I sent him. He said, "I did, but I would rather talk to you than read you bash me and my sister on the internet with a bunch of strangers." Don't worry, I told Kayla she's not welcome. This pissed me off beyond belief. Clearly, he either didn't read the post or still doesn't realize how truly in the wrong they are here. Either way, I lost all motivation to try and talk to work things out. I'm just done. I texted him, "Don't worry about dinner. All I will be doing is gathering some more things and dropping off my lawyer's contact info. There's nothing more for us to discuss." He asked what I meant, what lawyer, and told me he's been waiting to talk about this. All I said was, fine. Sam wished me luck before I left and assured me I was welcome back once we were done talking. I told her I absolutely would be back and thanked her for everything so far. Then, I stopped and got one of those boba refreshers from Starbucks to calm my nerves before I went home. When I got home, Nate had dinner ready, just like he said. I ignored him and just went straight to our room to pack up some more of my clothes and toiletries. He tried asking me if I really wasn't going to talk to him, but I just ignored him for the time being. Just seeing his face made my anger flare up, and I wanted to be smart about our discussion. After a while, he gave up and just went to eat in the dining room. When I was finished, I went and sat with him at the table but didn't touch any of the food. I started a voice memo on my phone before I said, "Go ahead." He looked at me all confused, so I told him he was the one who wanted to talk and must have so much to say. So, go ahead. He stumbled over his words for a while but ultimately started off with an apology, trying to tell me he didn't realize I was so upset with Kayla's behavior. I asked him if he remembered how hard I cried after I got home from dress shopping because of her comments about my choices and my body. If he remembered having to talk to her about not being my maid of honor. If he remembered our conversation just a few days ago, where I told him canceling my venue that held so much sentiment to me was way too far over the line. He said he did each time and tried to add a but to argue, but I just cut him off with my next example. I told him that after all of that, he 100% should have known I was beyond done with her BS. I told him I was so hurt and angry that I wanted her uninvited, but he wanted to give her another chance? To what, cancel our DJ and book a live band? Dye my dress red or show up in white herself? He told me she would never do that. I told him he told me she would never cancel my venue, but then she admitted to it in front of our faces. I told him I don't trust his opinion on his sister, and that he is just as delusional as she is if he thinks she will change. I asked him why he even told her so many details of our wedding anyway. Why does her opinion on our wedding even matter? He tried to tell me that because Kayla didn't get to have a real wedding when she got married, she was just a little too excited about ours. I told him she has every right in the world to be excited, but that does not give her any right to insult or change our choices regarding what we want for our wedding. She'll have plenty of opportunities to have a real wedding. If she could stop for 2 seconds and take her nose out of our wedding business, she could go out and find a man or woman to marry herself, poor soul, whoever that may be. I asked him, what's next? She gets to name our baby since she lost her own? The look on his face made my stomach feel hollow. He told me, and I quote, "Actually, Kayla does have a few ideas for what we could name our daughter." Daughter? Side note, I had mentioned in a comment previously that we were waiting to be surprised about the gender of our baby. We were discussing baby names and had settled on the top 3 for each gender. We agreed to keep them to ourselves until the baby is born. I asked if he said daughter, and he looked like a deer caught in headlights. He backtracked, but I pressed the issue. I asked him flat out if he knows the gender of our baby. He hesitated, but ultimately confessed to remembering that I filled out an information release form at my first OB visit. So he called the office and asked them for the results of our gender scan, claiming that we changed our minds, and he was going to do a reveal for me. I feel absolutely sick and violated. I asked him what the heck was he thinking. He said Kayla was feeling left out since Sam was planning my baby shower and not including her, and that she just couldn't wait to find out. I demanded he tell me everything. What else has he gone behind my back to do? Did he give her the idea to pretend to be our wedding planner? Was he the one that had her cancel my venue and change our catering? He tried to tell me no, of course not. She did that on her own, but I could just tell that he was lying. He absolutely put her up to all of this. At that point, I didn't even care why he did it. It's clear that none of our decisions will ever actually be ours. He will always do whatever the heck he wants to and get Kayla to back him up. I don't even want to think about how many of our decisions in the past were completely undermined and changed by these two. I asked him if Kayla came to him and told him everything I'm telling him, that she doesn't feel supported by her partner, that her partner went behind her back to learn the gender of their baby without her, that her partner was retroactively changing every decision they had agreed upon, that her partner was letting their sibling bully her relentlessly. What would he say to her? He didn't have a response, and honestly, if he did, I didn't want to hear it anymore. I knew the answer. I told him that, as the woman who is supposed to be his wife, me and the baby I am carrying should be his top priority, not his twin sister. I said him going behind my back like this for something as important as the gender of our baby is absolutely unforgivable. There is nothing that he can say or do to fix this now. I told him I will no longer be marrying him, but it's up to him if he wants to cancel all the vendors. I said, "You're more than welcome to use it all to marry Kayla, seeing as she's the one you obviously care the most about." He tried to backtrack and apologize and explain, but every time I just cut him off and told him that I had heard enough, and my mind was made up. There is no going back now. If he wants to have even the slimmest chance to get me back and have a real relationship with our baby, he will need to attend some serious therapy and do a lot of work on himself and his relationship with Kayla. I told him no woman in her right mind would ever marry him while he was this enmeshed with her. I told him that any contact we have moving forward will be through my lawyer. I want nothing to do with his family, and if I get what I want, they will have nothing to do with my daughter. Because I'll be damned if I let him subject her to this treatment. I put my lawyer's name and phone number on the table and walked out. He didn't try to follow me. So now, on top of dealing with my lawyer for the custody case, do I have to file a complaint with my OB office? Are they allowed to just give him this information without my express consent? Or did me stupidly putting him on the information release form I signed give them blanket consent to share any and all information with him? God, I didn't think this could get any worse, but I guess that's on me for being naive. I'm glad I recorded the conversation though, and got him admitting to doing all of this. I don't know how or if it will help my custody case, but I sent it to my lawyer with a note that we can discuss more on Friday. I'm back at Sam's place now. She was already at work when I got back, but I texted her to wake me up when she gets home. I need my sister. I also called my mom and told her everything that's happened so far. She cried with me for a while and then asked me if I needed her to do anything. I asked her if she'd be willing to go to the house with Sam and get the rest of my stuff because I do not want to see Nate right now. Just picturing his face is making me feel sick. She said she is more than willing. Kayla did text me again. I'm assuming Nate talked to her after I left. It was a very long, cruel message that I don't want to repeat here. I can post a screenshot if anyone cares for the whole message, if I can figure out how to attach one. But to summarize, she just called me a delusional control freak who can't let Nate make any decisions for himself and insulted my venue choice once again. And then said that she hopes my baby is stillborn because I don't deserve to be a mother. Honestly, after reading it, I thought the message would hurt, but it just gave me a really good laugh. I took a screenshot and sent it to my lawyer as well. And that's where we're at. The wedding is off. I will call all the vendors tomorrow and see if we can get any deposits back. If not, I'll let them know to contact Nate and Kayla to see if they would like to keep things as planned. Let them throw a party for all I care, but I will be canceling my venue regardless of my refund. Neither of them are going to step foot in that sacred place if I can help it. I didn't realize how much I was letting this weigh on me until now. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders, even though a new one is settling very quickly. Writing everything out like this is truly so freaking helpful for me to process how I'm feeling and what I need to do. I don't know if I'll keep doing formal updates, but for anyone who is interested, maybe I'll just treat this profile like a little journal as this all unfolds. Thank you again to everyone for all your advice and for showing me that I'm not crazy. Not the a-hole. I'm glad you are not going through with the wedding. Also very smart of you to record your conversation with Nate. Please follow your attorney's instruction. I hope you can move home with your mom or go live with your sister. Kayla's crazy, and you need to put security cameras up for your protection. It might be better for you to move out of state to have primary and hopefully 100% custody of your daughter. Revoke the release of medical information. Lock down your medical records with a password since Nate knows your date of birth and probably your social security number. I'm proud of you. Lock down credit also, since anything Nate knows, Kayla knows, and I wouldn't be surprised if she tried further identity theft. Not something I would ever think of. Luckily, our finances are mostly split still, but he does know my social. Just another thing to add to my to-do list for tomorrow. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister-in-law bring her baby to our child-free wedding, even though she's breastfeeding? My fiancé 29 male and I 26 female are getting married in 3 months. We made it clear from the start that we're having a child-free wedding. Not just to avoid chaos, but to keep the vibe more adult, since it's an evening event with an open bar, dancing, etc. My sister-in-law just had her baby 2 months ago and recently asked if she could bring him. She's exclusively breastfeeding and said leaving him for 6+ hours isn't realistic. I told her I understand, but the rule is the rule. She got upset and said I'm forcing her to choose between family and her baby. She even offered to step outside to breastfeed or leave early, but I still said no. It's not personal. I just don't want to set a precedent where every parent then asks for exceptions. Now my mother-in-law is furious and saying I'm punishing a new mother and that nobody wants to hear your DJ set more than their own baby. My fiancé supports me, but asked if I might reconsider just for his sister. I said no, and now I'm being painted as cold and controlling. Am I the a-hole for sticking to my no babies rule? I mean, you get to make the rules. It's your wedding, but consider that this is going to cause hard feelings for your sister-in-law towards you for years. In-laws are messy. You've got to decide if it's worth it. Exactly, the war you're about to start is not an easy one. I had a child-free wedding, but we actually did let our one friend who had a nursing baby come with the baby. A baby won't be running around, try to sneak drinks, put their hands in the cake. It is a baby that stays in the lap of the parent. Our friend stayed in the back during the ceremony in case she had to duck out if the baby started crying. No harm, no foul. It is your wedding, but I think prioritizing this rule over family and friends is not what I would choose. Good luck.